Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando and the Commando Cast. I'm Andrew with you here as always. So doing something a little different today. There were two topics that I wanted to discuss this week because both were kind of time relevant. But they're very different, right? So instead of sitting down and doing one kind of longer episode about two different topics, I figured instead what I would do would split up and do two different videos for kind of a double header today, and that way the videos can stay short, they can stay more relevant to the topic that you want to. Obviously, I hope that you'll go look at both videos, but I mean, you may not want to. So the first video will be about Taron Malicos. He's a character from Faltering Allegiances, the new set of Star Wars Destiny, fan-made, of course, and why really he's so good, at least early on, and also just kind of some thoughts and some design thoughts I have around him. The second topic is really a response video to a question that the Renewed Hope Committee had asked earlier this week to community leaders, event organizers about disorganized play. I had seen that tossed around by Agent of Zion. I thought that was funny. But no, so for their organized play going forward for Star Wars Destiny, they had kind of asked the question, what would we like to see? So I'm just sharing my thoughts on that. So again, hopefully you'll watch both videos, but either way, thanks for joining me today, and please enjoy. Everyone, thanks for joining me again for the second of today's two videos. First was about Taron Malicos, of course, and today we're talking about disorganized play. So I'm going to keep using that term as a joke, not as an insult, right? Zion had mentioned it earlier on the ARH Discord about disorganized play, kind of as a joke. I actually thought that was really funny, and it's also kind of a shot at FFG, which I also like. So to be clear, they are calling it organized play. But I think that disorganized play thing's funny. So kind of the background here is Wyatt from Dice of Failure. He is part of the OP team. He had reached out to me kind of last weekend, which got me thinking about this to begin with. And then the organized play announcement came a couple days ago. And you can go to their site and you can read the article itself. But basically it's a call to action, if you will, for the leaders in the community who run IRL or non-IRL events, right? However, whatever type of event, right? Doesn't matter. To get those leaders their feedback on what they would like to see, right? And when I was talking to Wyatt kind of more in depth about it, my interpretation of the question they're really asking is, as a store organizer, what would you like to see in a kit that would actually encourage you to buy the kit or donate for the kit, whatever it may be, right? What would encourage you to be willing to purchase the kit to help you and your community use it as prizes for your event? I mean, that's fundamentally the question is, what would you like to see? Because they need, it's a quid pro quo, right? We obviously have to either put up the money so they can get it made, or, we have to support it in some way, right? I think that's pretty clear. So what I wanted to do today was, I filled out the survey in there and all that, but what I wanted to do today was kind of give more an in-depth thought about my answer and why I have that answer, right? So what I would like to see, let's do this, right? Let's remind everybody, because not everybody's been playing the whole time, and FFG kits started becoming pretty sparse. Let's remind everybody kind of the history of FFG OP in terms of kit support for like LGS tournaments. Right, weekly tournaments. What it really was on a quarterly basis, and that is how it kind of, actually they were never on time, ever. But what it really started out was every kit had two promos in there, and these were, full art promos. So, because remember, FFG kind of as a BKM, best known method, never does unique cards. They always do reprints of current cards or alt arts of current cards. So that if you don't get it, you're not at a disadvantage in the game. That's just their company policy. A lot of people like that, a lot of people don't. I think it's great. So I fully support that. Obviously, I don't see ARH ever doing tournament unique prizes, and because it also wouldn't work on TTS anyway. And since the primary, the primary at least right now, because of the way the world is, and the majority of the individuals on ARH are Artificery, Entourage, they run the online stuff anyway. Don't worry, guys. Like, they're never going to make a unique card that you have to like win a tournament for, because it just wouldn't work on TTS anyway. Okay, so we got that out of the way, kind of as a side note. So what FFG kits would have is it'd have like 20 alt art promos as a participation prize, and in this case it was like an electroshock, right? The very first kit there was an electroshock in there. And then they would also have like 3 or 4 alt art cards of something a little higher, right? And the theory being that alt art card would then be worth a little more value, and that would go to the tournament winner, maybe first and second place. And then it also had a set of tokens in there. When the tokens, of course, were the high draw. So it was tokens that was like the big thing, and then there was kind of a harder to get alt art card in there. It was Jetpack one year. That was Finn one time, Kylo another time. You get the idea. So that was the FFG history of it. Later on, they started coming in those big white boxes, and there were just, I think, 6 different alt art promos, alt art cards. And that actually seemed to work a little better for our community, because everybody just kind of got them. We just kind of throw them on the table and let people in order pick their choices going down. There's pulse cannons, probes, stuff, counter intels, stuff like that, right? Just popular good cards. And that was actually a very popular model. It was a little cheaper. There was no tokens and stuff in there after the power action tokens in it. Anyway, so that's the FFG history. So to answer the question, what would I like to see from organized play? So I think this is actually the best opportunity, this being organized play, is actually the best opportunity that ARH has to kind of seal itself as a permanent fixture going forward. And I'm not talking about competing with other people or whatever. I'm talking about within the community itself. So let's kind of think a little outside the box here, right? What are the biggest complaints against ARH as it exists, right? Well, one of the largest complaints is a concern by some in the community that this is a move to take Destiny completely online, right? And this, of course, that concern has, of course, been massively compounded by the fact that COVID's happening, and really the only outlet we have is online stuff. And we know, of course, that that's not the case. But an easy argument can be made, because Artificery, I mean, they've been doing online stuff forever, right? And they've been doing online stuff even when we could do IRL stuff. And a lot of those guys are involved at a very high level. Entourage, they're doing their weekly tournaments. Again, we can't online. I mean, and again, we can't meet in person. But to some, it helps further the argument that the community, ARH, whatever it may be, are trying to move Destiny from a rolling real dice thing to a TTS-based thing. This is a huge opportunity, in my opinion, for ARH to say, no, that's not the case. We are trying to do this in paper. And one of the challenges ARH has had in doing that is, of course, because they don't want to sell cards. They're not the ones printing it. It's these third-party guys that you can use. Like, well, if you want an officially, or I should say a professionally made card, you go to these other vendors and they'll do one for you. But all of our stuff's on TTS, right? So that's one of the challenges that they've had in front of them, is in order to get real cards, you kind of have to go to this third party. This being organized play is ARH's opportunity to, in a pseudo-official stance, get printed, professionally made cards into people's hands, right? So this is a big deal. So what as a TO would I like to see in the kit? My big dream, right? If I was in charge, right? If I could make Wyatt and his people do whatever they wanted to do, or whatever I wanted them to do, what I would do is this. I would have the kit be, say it's an 8-person kit, a 12-person kit, or whatever. And you would say, all right, over the course of a season, now Andrew, what is a season? A season would be the duration between set releases. So if there are 3 months between set 11 and set 12, there would be roughly 12 weeks worth of product, 12 to 13 weeks worth of stuff in this kit. What the kit would contain is very simply enough cards to, if somebody came every week or bi-weekly, you double up, whatever, but if somebody came to every event, they would walk away with a printed play set of these cards. But Andrew, that's crazy. What about dice? That's really hard. I'm not talking about dice. Remember, in order to become to these events, these people would have had to have printed out the cards and put them in, sleeves behind other cards. Maybe they got professionally printed stuff and then they don't care. I don't know. But they would have had to made the cards and the dice in some form. I'm not asking RH to do dice. I think that's crazy talent. It would also drive the price of these kits way up. But I think it would be really neat if I could say, all right, well, here's my paper Taron Malicos. I'm going to play with it until week 3, where if I show up and I play on week 3, I can get a paper Taron Malicos. Or a printed, sorry, not a paper, a professionally printed Taron Malicos, and now I have that card. I think that would be really neat. So that's kind of my vision. Now, I do realize that the pure logistics of this are not insignificant, and I'm in no way ignoring that, right? I mean, the dice statement that I made, I think, fits into that. Because let's just break this down, right? Let's say that every set going forward stays at 90 cards, which I don't think is going to be the case, because I think that they're going to have to increase set sizes, but that's a different discussion. So maybe my idea of having a complete, maybe my idea of going over and over and over weekly to get a full set, maybe that's just not practical. And I get it. What I'm saying here is my ultimate dream, that it would be really cool if Amy and I could each go to a tournament for a quarter and we'd walk away with a playset or 2 playsets, I guess in this case, of professionally printed cards. I think that would be neat. It would also be a huge gesture, like I said earlier. It'd be a huge gesture by RH trying to kind of validate themselves as an IRL thing as well. So I think that there's really, not only is it a massive opportunity for them, but I think that if they want to solidify themselves throughout the community, I think that would be the thing in the kits. Now playmats, I think playmats are overdone. They're way overdone. Like, we all have way too many playmats. Playmats are awesome and everybody loves them, but like, how many playmats do you need? I show you over there. I have there. Right? That's my playmat stack of stuff that just sit in tubes. Like, I don't need them anymore, right? So playmats are well overdone. Maybe for the weekly prize, guys, maybe they do some professionally printed dice. I mean, I could see that for sure. I don't think you have to do that. I think people would appreciate it, but I don't think that's something you'd have to do. And then maybe, if you're like, well, okay, what's in it for me to win? Well, hopefully your store is giving away gift cards or something like that, but maybe they do alt art cards then for maybe, each quarter they have 3 or 4 characters that they do alt art, full art stuff for, or we know that there's spot glosses out there, right? I think it would be really neat if, your league, the best way to do this obviously would be in like a league, instead of like a weekly kit, it would be like a league kit, something like that, right? Like you buy like the quarter kit, and then there's a bunch of weekly prizes up to, maybe a couple spot glosses at the end of the quarter for your league champion or something like that. We've seen those from Aegis. They do some really sweet stuff with the spot glosses. I think that would be a great option for the OP kit, the DOP kit, whatever. So yeah, that's kind of my take. What I don't want, or what I would like to see them avoid, is trying to either, I think if they overdo it, they're going to end up underdoing it. And what I mean is this, right? Like, I think if they try to make things too fancy and too expensive, that just won't materialize. And I know that that's kind of a statement in of itself, but there's 2 ways that it can be too expensive or too hard. Is one, if they try to make different weekly kits, I think that, if they try to have like, week 1 through 10 weekly kits, I think that's going to be a disaster for them logistically, and they just won't want to do it because they'll have to keep the prices down, which they of course will. They'll jump on their sword, but then it's going to be a bunch of people putting in time, so I think that'll kind of blow up in their face. And on the other hand, if you have this like $200 kit for the quarter, that's probably too much, even though that, again, with my dream, it probably would end up being like a couple hundred, maybe not a couple hundred, but like it would end up being pretty expensive to have, 8 copies of printed sets. That would be a lot. So I don't envy their position. I'm just sharing what my thoughts, what I think would energize the player base. I do think that a lot of players, if they knew that they had to print out these stupid paper things that didn't look great, but if they went to the tournaments and they fought for it, they could get printed cards. I think a lot, I think a lot of my players would find that very exciting, and I think it would go a long way to helping the IRL stuff, even if they're still rolling dice with stickers on them. So that's kind of my take. I think that the fact that they're not only doing this, but they're asking the community, obviously, is very smart. I mean, it's actually essential if you think about it, because we're the people who are going to be buying the kits. And, you know, there are suppliers out there who are probably very excited about being the single source supplier for the OP kits. That's probably another point of discussion or concern as it is, but, you know, I don't really want to get into that. I'm just excited about OP as it is. So that'll be it for today. Those are my takes. But again, to this end, right, that's my take as a community leader, as a tournament organizer. To you out there who are players or other community organizers, I would love nothing more than to see the discussion below on what your thoughts are, what you want. Do you want to see dice? And if that's the case, right, how much would you be willing? Would you be willing to pay $10 for a tournament entry if you could walk away with a set of dice? Keep in mind, of course, that they're of course not going to be able to. I mean, it'd be very specific dice. They'd have to choose the characters they want to. So I mean, again, you know, keep in mind the logistics of what you're requesting. I think that's reasonable, right? I mean, as a community, we need to work together to make this work in all forms, right? And that starts with, you know, making sure that we're asking for reasonable stuff, and then the fact that, you know, if we say that we want a $20 kit, we back that up with actually buying the $20 kit. Otherwise, we're not going to have a season 2 of Disorganized Play to support. So again, I'm very excited about this discussion. I'm really curious to see where the community goes with this in terms of desires, which will directly feed into those making the decisions on what they're going to be able to supply us with. And remember, just because they do something for Organized Play Season 1 doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing for Organized Play Season 2. They're going to learn things from it. So, again, comments below. Yeah, thanks for watching. If nothing else, guys, go Commando.